Okie dokie, boys and girls, so today we have another push day, and well, I might as well call it road to 20 seconds of full planche, because at this point that's all I care about. But I wanted to talk a little bit about progressions and failing, because I feel like a lot of people are afraid to fail, you know, including myself. Like when you get to a certain progression in the planche, you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this progression feel easy and then move on to the next one, you know. I have to master it. The form has to be perfect. But in my case, you know, I feel like it's kind of hindering myself, because I'm at the full planche trying to get 20 seconds, and in order to get there, you know, the full planche has to feel light. So if I just try to do the full planche all the time, I'll get some endurance, but still it kind of feels heavy, or that's the impression I'm getting. So what I think is important to do is that, well, you have the courage to fail, you know. When you're at a certain progression, right, and you want to move on to the next one, what you're doing right now doesn't have to be perfect. Let's say you're doing an advanced tuck planche. You're holding it for like 5 to 10 seconds, and okay, the form might not be perfect, but you know, you're doing it, right? And many people would not attempt a straddle planche in that situation, but why not? Right? Try it, fail it. Because by trying those more difficult things, that's where the previous things you've been doing, the previous progressions you've been doing, that's where they'll start to feel easy, because you're using your body at 100%, right? Of course, you know, some trainings are easy, some trainings are hard, but when I see people trying to perfect their current level, right, it's basically the same as people benching one plate for their entire life. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can do better, right? You can progress. You can attempt to add some smaller plates, and then you can attempt to bench it, and perhaps you'll fail, but you'll try again and again and again, and eventually succeed. And it's the same in calisthenics, you know, with any skill, right? When you go for failure, that's when you progress. So for me, in my case, it's the full planche, right? I want to make the full planche feel easy, but should I then just stay at that progression, right? Well, of course, there is no other progression. Well, there is, right? You have the Maltese, which, okay, I'm not gonna do. But you also have the weighted planche, right? I think I have to mix in some weighted planche, and of course not everything, you know, not every session should be weighted, because then I lose the endurance aspect. But it's a good helper, you know. You do the full planche weighted, then it feels light when you remove the weight. And well, of course there's gonna be physical benefit, but also there's gonna be mental benefit, because all of a sudden you're trying to enter this position that you've entered thousands of times, and it feels so fucking easy, right? So it's just gonna give you all kinds of gains. And you know, in the end, I think especially with calisthenics, when you're trying to learn something new, you just have to accept that sometimes you're gonna fail, and that's okay. So for me, I am eyeing a combo today. I would like to get 2 push-ups, 2 presses, 2 seconds of hold with 2 kilos of weight on my feet. Am I gonna get it? We'll see. Let's just say there's a likelihood of me failing, but I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna fail. That's gonna be my 100%. My body's gonna recover. I'm gonna try again next time, and perhaps get a little closer until I succeed. And that's how you progress. You don't progress necessarily by staying in your comfort zone all the time, right? I mean, sometimes when you want to recover, that's a good thing. Stay in your recovery zone, but every now and then, you know, you gotta do a harder session, a session that challenges you, because you know your body doesn't like to put on copious amounts of muscle and adapt to difficult movements. You know, your body just wants to preserve itself in order to live as long as possible, but it doesn't know that the stress can also make it live longer. So that's up to you, up to your brain to fucking, you know, destroy your body sometimes. Give it a bit more of a challenge so that it will repair stronger, adapt more, right? And get to those goals of yours. So yeah, today, well, it's still the morning. I'm finishing my morning run. I'll do a planche activation later on, and then I'll get back to you tonight for a heavy planche session. See you then. Yes! Yes, what the fuck? Holy shit. Okay, so that was quite the surprise. I mean, the quality was shit, but I'm gonna do one more set of this, exactly the same, trying to up the quality a little bit on the push-ups especially, but very pleased with that set, you know. Today's goal is just to feel heavy in the planche, to like up the progression basically, right? I have 2 kilo on my feet. It's the next progression past full planche basically. And I want to get a bit stronger at this, you know, because if I remove the weights, the normal full planche will feel easier. And, you know, today's training goal, or today's training is going to be very simple. I'm just going to go as hard as possible on straight sets of weighted planche until I can't anymore. I'm not going to do drop sets. I'm not going to do supersets, because if I do those, I'm not going to be able to recover fully for my next training, which is in 4 days. And basically, I explained it yesterday, but drop sets and supersets are very good, you know, if you don't feel like your trainings are intense enough. But for me, I feel like they're fucking intense already. So I'm just going to do straight sets, you know, try to do as many sets as possible, like I said, until I basically can't do a full planche anymore with 2 kilos on my feet. And then that will be, I don't know if it will be the end of the training, but we'll see, you know. We'll see first how many sets I can get. Let's go. Fuck. Push-ups are fucking impossible already. Oh, fuck. Not too many sets are left. Maybe 1 or 2. Some presses, some holds. And then I'll do a few sterile sets as well, you know, to pick up the volume a little bit. All right. Holy fucking shit. Okay, so those trash sets are done. That was my absolute limit for the full planche. Now I think I'm just gonna do 1 or 2, but probably 1 set of straddle planche push-ups with weight on my feet. But I'm not gonna do too much of those sets because, like I said, I want to recover fully for the next session where I'm probably gonna do a max hold again. But if I do too many sets at like a lower intensity and like higher rep range, I'm gonna completely destroy myself. Because when you think about it, if you have an exercise, let's say the planche push-up here, where you can do 2 reps, right? And then you do a couple sets and you're able to do 0. If you make the exercise more easy, you can still do a lot of push-ups, right? I can still do some push-ups without weight on my feet right now. So I still have a lot of energy left if you think about it. But if I keep lowering the intensity and, you know, go to my max and completely burn out on all of those lower intensities, let's say I go to a tuck planche and just go to my absolute max, then I don't have a lot of energy left because, of course, I wouldn't be able to do a full planche, but let alone a tuck planche, it would be difficult. So to recover from not being able to do a tuck planche all the way back to full planche takes a long time. But if I now do weighted planche, right, and I'm still able to do full planche, and even though I did some saddle planche, right, I'm going to do some saddle planche. If I end this training and I'm still able to do a full planche, the recovery process is going to take less time, even though I was able to push myself, right? So that's kind of the strategy here. Couple sets, and then we'll be done for the day. All right. Okie dokie, so I think today I had the perfect plan, blast some Doomslayer and just bash out planche sets on full throttle. I mean, this was fun, and of course, not every set, or I guess none of the sets were perfect form, far from even, but they were very challenging. I went to failure, and most importantly, it was very difficult for me. It was very difficult to hold these planches. And when I remove the weight, next time I'm gonna do some training, the planche is gonna feel so light that, because it feels so easy, I'm gonna be more capable of focusing on form, more capable of perfecting that previous progression. So let's say that you're stuck on the advanced tuck planche right now. You're doing it for a couple seconds, but you're not really able to get some push-ups or whatever, right? Maybe you should just try something more difficult anyway, right? Try to add some weight. Try to increase the difficulty somehow, get some volume that way, and then when you go back, it will feel easier. But of course, for every situation, there's a different solution. So I would just say, don't go off of theory. Try it yourself. If it works, then I'm happy for you. But if not, well, I guess there is another way. Well, I'm not guessing there's another way. There's definitely another way. Everyone can get strong. But that's it for today's training. Yeah, very happy with how it went. Tomorrow will be, it will be front lever, which I'm looking forward to a lot. So let's see what happens. Pull-ups, up and pull-ups will be that will be the theme, I believe. So let's have some dinner and recover for tomorrow.